What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Transformers R.E.D. Bumblebee. And I know I already have a bunch of mixed feelings about this figure. When I saw how big this guy was, I was gonna completely just pass on it and kind of just give up on this line. But then I saw it in store. I couldn't resist because it does look really good, and I've just kind of accepted that this is a figure that's probably just going to exist on its own. It is what it is, whatever. It looks great. So let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with the packaging. We do have the standard Transformers R.E.D. style packaging. It does look very nice. You can see Bumblebee through the window here. On the side, we get a look at the accessories. I love the way they did this. It shows all the things that he comes with, and it doesn't like clutter up the box where he's at. So I think that's cool. On the front, we do get a look at Bumblebee with some awesome looking artwork right here. I think he looks badass right there. I love the design here, how the yellow comes up like that. On the back, we get a look at Bumblebee in a couple of different poses, and then along with some of his accessories. Down here, we get a bunch of bullshit, and that's about it for the packaging. It is collector friendly and all that good stuff, but enough about this pretty box. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bumblebee. All right, so here we go. Here we have Bumblebee right out of the packaging, and I've got to say right off the top, this figure is a little frustrating. And the reason why is because I like it. I think they did a really good job with it. It's a very good representation of the animated G1 Bumblebee. He's got a lot of really good articulation, which is something that they kind of struggled with the first couple of figures. And I think they pretty much did everything right here. It's very accurate to the way he looked in the old school show. There's a couple of things that I feel are a little bit inaccurate. You know, back in those days, the animation was very inconsistent. So maybe some of the things that I see as inaccurate were accurate at some point, you know, so it's kind of weird like that. But there are definitely a couple things that I wish were a little bit different in regards to the way that he looks. But for the most part, I think that they really did a great job with this guy. And the frustrating thing is, I would say that this one is probably the best executed Transformers R.E.D. figure, in my opinion. I think that like right here is what we wanted to see from this line. But like the scale just doesn't make sense. Like the scale just completely ruins this figure and kind of ruins the line, because Bumblebee is one of the main Transformers figures along with Optimus Prime, obviously, but you can't even put this Bumblebee next to your R.E.D. Optimus Prime. It just doesn't work at all. Like, it's bizarre how they chose to scale these figures. Honestly, I really wish that he was like maybe 4 inches. If he was exactly like this but 4 inches tall, I think that would have been fine putting him next to Optimus Prime. Like, I don't think that, I'm not like that strict when it comes to scale. As long as some of the basics are achieved, I'm fine. Like, you know, something very simple and basic is that Optimus Prime should be bigger than Bumblebee. And it's sad to see that that's not really the case with these figures. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the comparisons. But yeah, it's pretty damn hilarious, man, because this Bumblebee figure is pretty massive. But yeah, like I said, the fact that I like this figure just makes me very frustrated with the whole line. It's like, damn it, come on, man. Like this line had so much potential. It could have been very cool. And instead of giving us a cool non-transforming line, they decided to do some crazy shit. So I don't know. It's very bizarre. But anyways, yeah, this guy is awesome. One thing I will say that I'm not crazy about when it comes to Bumblebee and pretty much the whole line is the feel of the plastic. It does feel a little cheap and soft, you know. It's not like horrible or anything, but it's definitely something that you notice when you start handling the figure. But aside from that, I really don't have any huge complaints with this figure. I think that they really did a great job. He's fun to play with. He looks really good. Again, very accurate to the cartoon, which is the main goal of this line. So I think they did a good job there. But yeah, I'm just very torn on how to feel about this figure. Like, I'm definitely going to display him because he looks super cool. He might look cool displayed next to some Masterpiece figures or something. I don't know, maybe the styles might clash a little bit, but I just think he's cool, man. I think he looks really good. But yeah, man, really cool figure, but very frustrating. But let's go ahead and get in close and talk about the details on this guy. And then as far as the sculpt goes, I think they did a pretty good job with it, but he doesn't have a whole lot of paint details, so some of the sculpting work kind of gets lost a little bit, and you can't really see all the nice work that was done on this guy. But the sculpt is definitely there. I just wish that he had a little bit more paint. But starting off at the head here, I think this is a nice looking head sculpt. I especially like his facial expression, how he's kind of smiling a little bit. I think the gray faceplate looks kind of cool. I like the blue eyes, and then like the horns, and just the whole head sculpt looks really nice to me. Moving down into the body, I like how we have the Autobots logo right there in the center. It's very clean and crisp and very well done. And then they decided to give him some siege-style battle damage here, which is kind of random. And that doesn't really feel accurate to the show. In the show, he looked very clean and stuff. But, like, yeah, he's got some battle damage going on there. Same thing on the arms. And it's just kind of randomly thrown on there. I might end up cleaning that off. It might be easy to remove. I might do some paint work on this guy. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get rid of that. One thing I wish was a little bit different on this is that, like, they decided to go with black for the windows here. And, you know, after looking at a couple of clips from the show, that's not completely inaccurate. Sometimes it was black. But I do wish that if they were going to go with black, they would have given it more of a shine, you know, like made it look like windows. As it is right now, it's just like a matte black and it doesn't look anything like windows. So I think if they want to go with black, they should have given it a little bit of a shine. Personally, I would have preferred if they had just gone with blue and made it look like windows. I think that would have been the way to go. But I still think this looks cool. I just wish the black had a bit of a shine to it. And let's check out the arms. He does have some nice sculpting work on the arms, especially on the inner forearms here. Some good sculpting work right there. So that looks nice. He's got some sculpting work on the side of the body here. The back of the figure does have his wheel, which comes off. I'm not sure why, but hey, whatever. Comes off, plugs right back in, and it does look good. Moving down, he's got sculpting work everywhere, so it all looks good. Oh, this is a trip right here. This looks like, it's funny because the whole figure looks very plastic and lacking paint, but then you get to these things, these little vents or whatever, and they look like they're metallic, like painted with the metallic kind of gunmetal color. So that's like a random spot to throw paint. But hey, it looks good. Originally, I thought there should be a wheel down here in his foot, but then after checking out some clips from the actual show, it seems like for the majority of the time, his feet did look like this. Every now and then you'd see a clip where there was a wheel there, but I think that was just because like inconsistencies in the animation. But for the most part, it seems like his feet did look like this. So they definitely kept it accurate. And I think they did a great job keeping the whole thing accurate to the way that he looked in the show. And like I said, it definitely captures that G1 animated Bumblebee look, which is what the goal is with this line. So I think he looks great. I'm very happy with the way that the figure looks and how well it represents the character from that time. And then for accessories, Bumblebee doesn't come with a whole lot, but he does come with some cool stuff, including 2 different sets of hands. So first off, we have a pair of fists. And then we have a set of trigger finger hands that he could use to hold on to his blaster. And the blaster does look nice. It also comes with a couple of different blast effects. First off, we have this longer blast effect that looks cool. And then we have another one that is just a little bit thicker and bigger. Both of these plug into the barrel of the gun and they do look nice. Aside from that stuff, he does come with one single pink Energon cube. And now for some quick size comparisons, we have the R.E.D. Bumblebee alongside the R.E.D. Optimus Prime and the R.E.D. Soundwave. And as you could see, Bumblebee is just way too big to be compared to these figures. Like, he's way out of scale. It just doesn't work. In no world should an Optimus Prime be smaller than Bumblebee, but for some reason, in this line, they just decided to make it that way. And as you can see, it just really doesn't work. Psych, just playing around. Those were obviously the Transformers Core Class Optimus Prime and Soundwave. Here we have Bumblebee alongside the R.E.D. Optimus and Soundwave, but the same things apply. This scale just does not work for these characters. Bumblebee is just way too big, Optimus Prime is way too small, and this is really where the big disappointment with this line comes in, because the figures have their flaws, but most of them could be overlooked. And you know, it's also a matter of improving. They're still kind of early in the line, so you could assume that they're going to get better with time. But like, this right here is just ridiculous. There's no excuse for this scale mistake, if you even want to call it. They probably, actually decision. We'll go with this decision to make them scale this way. Like, it's just ridiculous. I have no idea why they did this. And just for like reference, if they wanted to, they could have made Bumblebee the same size as the Siege Bumblebee, or like, I think it's like the Netflix Siege War for Cybertron Bumblebee, and like that would have worked perfectly fine with Optimus. I mean, maybe not like 100% accurate, but I think this would have worked way better than this. Obviously, this doesn't work at all. This is 0% accuracy when it comes to scale. Like, but this right here, I mean, I think this could have been passable. I think these two look pretty good together. But man, what a disappointment. As far as the scale, it's just so funny to me that they decided to do this, because when this was kind of the rumor that this was going to happen, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way are they going to make Bumblebee like the same size as Optimus. It just, like, that's crazy. Like, why would they do that? But they went ahead and went forward with it, and this is what we got. So it's very bizarre. And very quickly, here's another look at him alongside the War for Cybertron Bumblebee, and then we have the Earthrise Wheeljack. And I like this Wheeljack figure a lot. It's probably one of my favorite Transformers, and I would like to see him done in the R.E.D line if they decide to continue with it. I guess we'll have to see. And then next up, we have him alongside the Studio Series Transformers the movie Hot Rod and the Earthrise Optimus Prime. Once again, it doesn't work at all. And then of course, here we have Bumblebee alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And if you want to have Bumblebee hang out with like humans, this still doesn't work because now he's too small, you know? So this doesn't really fit in anywhere all that well. Actually, here we have something that might work. Here we have Bumblebee alongside the Masterpiece Sideswipe and the Masterpiece Soundwave. And as far as scale goes, this actually looks okay to me. I don't know if it's perfect, but I mean, I think Bumblebee next to Soundwave looks pretty good. Maybe not so much next to Sideswipe. But I think this kind of looks okay. But if this is the display you want to build, there's probably a way better option for a Bumblebee to hang out with Masterpiece figures. But I just wanted to put them somewhere where it kind of makes sense. And I think this can kind of work. And then when it comes to articulation, I would say that he has the best articulation that we've seen from this line so far. So I'm pretty happy with it. I'd imagine that it's very difficult to approach the articulation on these figures because of the designs and stuff. But I think for the most part, they did a good job with Bumblebee. So let's go ahead and take a look. First off, his head is on a ball joint, so it does move side to side. Because of the sculpt and the shape and the design, he doesn't get a whole lot of tilt, but he does get a little bit, so you could get some attitude out of it. He could only look up to about right there, and then he could only look down to right there. So not a whole lot going on. And then for the torso, he does have a waist swivel. And then he does have an ab crunch, but it's kind of interesting how they did it. So we have this piece that comes off, and when you take that off, his ab crunch is crazy. Look at that. But obviously, you can't really make it work when this piece is on. So you're going to have to figure something out. But with this on, you could still get a decent ab crunch. Like, what I was thinking about doing is gluing this down because it's soft enough to where it'll just get out of the way when you're crunching them forward. So, you know, you could get a pretty nice crunch even with this here. Yeah, I'm going to try to figure something out. But yeah, that's an interesting approach to it. If you just want to leave it on there and push it as far as it'll go and still make everything look natural, it'll go to about right there. Which I could live with. I think that's okay. Can't really go back all that much, only goes back to about right there. But yeah, I think the torso articulation is, it's enough. It's enough for Bumblebee. I think that, like, even if I glue this whole thing down and just like leave it there, I'm still gonna be okay with the amount of articulation. And then for the arms, they do go all the way around. He does have a bit of a butterfly joint, which is awesome. His arms come out to the side to about right there, which is pretty great. They come all the way up, basically, so that's nice. He does have an upper bicep swivel. He does have double jointed elbows. Bam. Look at that. Bam. So pretty good stuff there. At the hands, we have a swivel and then the vertical hinge. And both sets of hands have the vertical hinge. I do wish that the fist had like the traditional hinge, but for whatever reason, they decided to go vertical with it. And then for the legs, they do come out to the side to about right there. They kick forward to right there. They come back to right there. He does have upper thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, look at that. Damn, that's a nice double jointed knee. And then at the foot, let's see what we have here. So there's no swivel or anything, but look at that ankle joint. That's interesting. Then you could bring them in like that. Pretty cool stuff there. But man, look how far this hinges back and forth. Pretty nice. And then you have the rocking ankle. I do wish there was some kind of swivel down here, but looks like they couldn't make that work. But you know, I'm okay with the foot articulation. And I'm happy with the articulation in general. The main thing is he's fun to pose around and play with. So yeah, it's definitely, I can't really think of anything that I wish was different considering the design and stuff. I think they pretty much got everything in there that they could, so I'm happy with it. I guess if I were making this figure or whatever, I think like a ball joint at the waist would have been the way to go. and just like allow the swivel and a little bit of crunch from right there. But as it is right now, I think this works perfectly fine for Bumblebee, so I'm happy with it. So overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, I do like this figure, but obviously we do have some problems here. The biggest problem is definitely the scale. I don't think that a lot of people are going to be able to forgive that when it comes to this figure. But personally, I'm just taking this figure as an individual piece. I know this kind of sounds like a cop-out. It's, hey, whatever, man. I think it's a cool figure, and I'm just kind of trying to justify its existence, you know? So, as it is right now, as just an individual standalone piece, I enjoy this figure. As a figure that's going to contribute to my Transformers display, like in a sensible way, it really does fail in that regard. But you know, it's a cool Bumblebee figure that I could pose around and play with. Doesn't transform, and it looks exactly like he did in the old cartoon. So with those goals, they definitely achieved what they were going for. But you know, the fact that the scale is just so off, I don't think a lot of people are going to be into that, and I could totally understand why. It's just weird to kind of have Bumblebee all by himself. Not being able to hang out with Optimus Prime in his own line. Obviously, there are Optimus Prime figures that you could probably buy and make it work with this Bumblebee, but it would be nice to be able to do it within its own line. It would be cool if they revisited Bumblebee in the R.E.D. line and gave us a smaller version that did fit with the rest of the figures. I don't see them doing that. Honestly, I don't really see this line lasting very much longer after they release the ones that they've already announced. You know, like I'm sure that the Optimus Primal will probably make its way out, but after that, who knows what's going to happen. And it's kind of disappointing, you know, because I had high hopes for this line. I like Transformers figures, but I'm not the biggest fan of the actual transformation, and I don't like that there's a bunch of aesthetic sacrifices in order to have the transformation parts in there. But I get it. I get that's the whole appeal of these figures, but I just want cool action figures of these characters, and I was kind of hoping that the R.E.D. line would do that for me. So far, it's definitely been hit or miss, you know. I do like some of the figures, but they just don't work as a collective, like, whatsoever. And even some of the figures I do like Soundwave, for example, he's missing key points of articulation that I do feel like they could have put in there. With Bumblebee, they did fill him with articulation, but then, you know, he completely fails in regards to scale, so it's like, you know, one step forward, two steps back kind of thing. But, hey, like I said, at the end of the day, I'm happy that I have this figure. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to make a couple of modifications on it. I might go ahead and glue down his chest piece. And, I don't know, I'm kind of considering maybe adding some paint to it, but we'll see. I don't know. I think if I just glue down the chest piece, I might be satisfied enough at that point, and it'll be a figure that I can play with and enjoy. Even now, he's a lot of fun to play with, but that loose chest piece kind of falling around kind of makes me mad. And another thing I wish was a little bit different is I wish the joints weren't as gummy as they are. It's not too bad, but it is noticeable sometimes, and I wish that wasn't the case. But aside from that, I'm happy with this figure. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. Thank you very much. Peace.